Today we're reading part 2 of Newcomers out of the book As Bill Sees It. Michael's going to start on page 186, The Only Requirement.
Okay, 186, The Only Requirement. In Tradition 3, AA is really saying to every serious drinker, you are an AA member if you say so. You can declare yourself in. Nobody can keep you out. No matter how low you've gone, no matter how grave your emotional complications, even your crimes, we don't want to keep you out. We just want you to be sure that you get the same chance for sobriety that we've had. We do not wish to deny anyone his chance to recover from alcoholism. We wish to be just as inclusive as we can, never exclusive.
Okay, page 190. The AA way in the home. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly with them, explaining AA's concept of alcoholism and its treatment. If they accept this and also apply our principles to their problems, there's a much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. Unless a new member's family repeatedly expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think he ought not urge them. They will change in time. His behavior will usually convince them far more than his words.
Okay, page 191, the beginning of humility. There are a few absolutes inherent in the 12 steps. Most steps are open to interpretation based on the experience and outlook of the individual. Consequently, the individual is free to start the steps at whatever point he can or will. God, as we understand him, may be defined as a power greater or the higher power. For thousands of members, the AA group itself has been a higher power in the beginning. This acknowledgement is easy to make if a newcomer knows that most of the members are sober and he isn't. His admission is the beginning of humility. At least the newcomer is willing to disclaim that he himself is God. That's all the start he needs. If following this achievement, he will relax and practice as many of the steps as he can, he is sure to grow spiritually.
199. Arrogance and its opposite. A very tough-minded prospect has taken to his first AA meeting where two speakers, or maybe lecturers, theme their talks on God as I understand him. Their attitude oozed arrogance. In fact, the final speaker got far overboard on his personal theological convictions. Both were repeating my performance of years before. Implicit in everything they said was the same idea. Folks, listen to us. We have the only true brand of AA, and you'd better get it. The new prospect said he'd had it, and he had. His sponsor protested. His sponsor protested that this wasn't real AA. But it was too late. Nobody could touch him after that. I see humility for today as a safe and secure stance midway between violent emotional extremes. It is a quiet place where I can keep enough perspective and enough balance to take my next small step up the clearly marked road that points toward eternal values.
Okay, page 207, the fellowship's future. It seems proved that AA can stand on its own feet anywhere and under any conditions. It has outgrown any dependence it might once have had upon the personalities or efforts of a few of the older members like me. New, able, and vigorous people keep coming to the surface, turning up where they are needed. Besides, AA has reached enough spiritual maturity to know that its final dependence is upon God. Clearly, our first duty to AA's future is to maintain in full strength what we now have. Only the most vigilant caretaking can assure this. Never should we be lulled into complacent self-satisfaction by the wide acclaim and success that are everywhere ours. This is the subtle temptation which could render us stagnant today, perchance disintegrate us tomorrow. We have always rallied to meet and transcend failure and crisis. Problems have been our stimulants. How well, though, shall we be able to meet the problems of success?
209. Excuse me. Never the same again. It was discovered that when one alcoholic had planted in the mind of another the true nature of his malady, that person could never be the same again. Following every spree, he would say to himself, maybe those AAs were right. After a few such experiences, often before the onset of extreme difficulties, he would return to us convinced. In the first years, those of us who sobered up in AA had been grim and utterly hopeless cases. But then we began to have success with milder alcoholics and even some potential alcoholics. Younger folks appeared. Lots of people turned up who still had jobs, homes, health, even good social standing. Of course, it was necessary for these newcomers to hit bottom emotionally, but they did not have to hit every possible bottom in order to admit that they were licked.
Okay, 212, faith and action. Your prospect's religious education and training may be far superior to yours. In that case, he's going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he will be curious to learn why his convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish constructive action. Admit that he probably knows more about religion than you do, but remind him that however deep his faith and knowledge, these qualities could not have served him very well, or would not be asking your help. Dr. Bob did not need me for his spiritual instruction. He already had more of that than I. What he did need when we first met was the deflation at depth and the understanding that only one drunk can give to another. What I needed was the humility of self-forgetfulness and the kinship with another human being of my own kind.
298. A mighty beginning. Even the newest of newcomers finds undreamed rewards as he tries to help his brother alcoholics, the one who is even blinder than he. This is indeed the kind of giving that actually demands nothing. He does not expect his brother sufferer to pay him or even love him. And then he discovers through the divine paradox of this kind of giving, he has found his own reward, whether or not his brother has yet received anything. His own character may still be gravely defective, but he somehow knows that God has enabled him to make a mighty beginning, and he senses that he stands at the edge of new mysteries, joys, and experiences of which he had never before dreamed.
Page 314, high and low. Our membership was small. We dealt with low bottom cases only. Many less desperate alcoholics tried AA but did not succeed because they could not make the admission of their hopelessness. In the following years, this changed. Alcoholics who still have their health, their families, their jobs, and even 2 cars in the garage began to recognize their alcoholism. As this trend grew, they were joined by young people who were scarcely more than potential alcoholics. How could people such as these take the first step? By going back in our own drinking histories, we showed them that years before we realized we were out of control, that our drinking even then was no mere habit, that it was indeed the beginning of a fatal progression.
In our final reading, 331. The great fact: we realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. To the newcomer, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past and give freely of what you find, and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.